Hey, classmates. So the study I decided to do was the Minnesota Bridge collapse of 2007. And I chose this case study because I have family that lives in Minnesota. Also, I remember when this was on TV, and I remember all I guess, the pandemonium that came about afterwards. So, the way it starts is stage one is you're the fire chief of the municipality that the bridge is actually in. The plan of action is so once the bridge collapses, it happens on a rush hour evening. Um, First thing you want to do is stop and divert all the traffic on the roadway, try to get the people that are on the bridge off of the bridge, and try to get all the vehicles out of the way because you're going to need a lot of room and access points for your emergency vehicles, as well as other vehicles that you're going to be needing. Other thing would be is to get search and rescue teams needed to be mobilized ASAP. Obviously, if you got vehicles under concrete, you got vehicles down in the river, so that's kind of a priority. Also, another priority is a triage area set up. This can also help with the triaging of medical patients on who needs to go to a trauma center versus just a regular hospital to begin with. Also, you probably want to alert all the hospitals about the bridge collapse if they already are not aware of it. Some of the resources are probably going to be needed. Obviously, beside your search and rescue, your free rescue companies, probably heavy lifting equipment. This is where it comes importance with having contracts with like the Department of Transportation, commercial crane vendors, um, things of that nature. Obviously, you're going to need excessive medical personnel. You're going to need search and rescue teams, water rescue teams, dive teams, and also you want to make sure that you got police there. And then depending upon where you're actually at, Coast Guard, Navy, civil engineers, Department of Transportation, those kind of big name players. So stage two happens. Um, Stage two is kind of in the middle of the rescue. So some things you want to consider, obviously, is the stability of the bridge, how much of it, the remaining part of the bridge is going to collapse, if it hasn't already collapsed. This is where the civil engineers will play a big part with deciding about how much the bridge can tolerate, how much it can hold at this time, as well as where they can place the heavy equipment that you're going to need to lift up the concrete with or do rescues with. Um, I also want to look at probably contacting salvage crews for like barges and whatnot. You can do this for help with the debris removal, as well as you can actually use the barges if you needed to for almost like a forward operating base for your search and rescue, especially for your water teams. You can put them in and get them right up close to where they need to be, um, reduce their time having to go back and forth from the shore and whatnot. Um, and the book also mentions you want to consider the use of air evac. Um, I can understand that because of if this bridge is there and there's no bridges around for miles, and the hospitals are all on the other side of the bridge, you may be able to air evac some of these folks than trying to go along for ground transports. Um, and then stage three is kind of wrapping it up at the end of it. This is kind of where you need to make the decision about switching from actual rescue to the recovery mode. It talks about there's several cars that are underneath the concrete, along with the water, that there's no hopes to save these victims. So obviously at this point you're doing recoveries versus rescues. Um, this is a part where people's emotions are still up, they're still hyped, they're still amped. So that's the part we got to tell the crews to actually slow down, still be safe. They're also probably exhausted because they've been there for several hours. So this is where accidents have a high probability of happening. So this is where we also need to consider about rotating some new crew and newer fresh crews in, let the other people kind of rehab and decompress and um, go back to service and whatnot. When you look at the bridge itself was originally built in 1967. It's been modified several times over the years because of the accident. It's actually left 13 dead and about 145 people were injured. What happened was the gusset plates were actually half the size needed for the vehicle traffic and the weight increase to the 8-lane bridge. There's also about 300 plus tons of construction equipment stockpiled on the deck of the bridge. This obviously added to the weight of the bridge plus rush hour traffic. And the bridge actually was rated structurally deficient as well as fracture critical, which doesn't really say that the bridge can't be used. It just sets enough red flags that it really needed to be overhauled, revamped. Um, One of the rescues, if you read it or talk about it, was actually they rescued 52 students from a school bus. Um, I think that's probably a significant rescue. And that's 52 more fatalities that could have happened if they didn't rescue the school bus. Um, but in the end of it, the bridge resulted in the state of Minnesota actually doing about a 10-year program, $2.5 billion improvement, targeted about 172 bridges throughout the state. So unfortunately, most municipalities and places and states don't heed the warnings of deficient items or poor infrastructure until something catastrophic happens, like a bridge collapse, and they really notice that they need to invest in the infrastructure. Um, so that's my case review. I hope you guys like it. Feel free to give me any feedback. Thank you.